Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Marvin Byrd Show. I'm your host, Dr. Marvin Byrd. As you can see, there is something happening in this country, and it's a good thing. It's a very good thing, and I believe that this change, what's happening in this country, I think it's going to stick, and it's important that we continue to have these conversations about equality, about justice for all, because in doing so, we become, as a union, we become even more perfect, which was that's the foundation of this country. That was the purpose of this country, of this government, is to be more perfect, to grow and to get better. And so, although it may be painful, it may look ugly at times, I believe we're becoming more perfect. We're getting to a better place. And that being said, eventually schools will open back up. We may be fully online. We may be fully back to business as usual, or there may be a hybrid of the two approaches. But whatever that is, we're going to have to go back to school. And as I always tell you, my purpose here is to spread that message that teachers are leaders. We are leaders. When that door closes, your students are looking at you, and you have the opportunity to influence everything that goes on in that classroom, including the decision making of the students. And as a leader, you are charged with showing students what this change looks like. A lot of people, most people, in this country, they've been moved. They've been affected by this moment. They're having conversations that they've never had before. And when we talk specifically about white people, we see more white people really opening their eyes and being willing to listen and to learn. And so overall, this has been a great thing in terms of people being willing to have those conversations and explore. But as teachers, once again, we've got a greater responsibility, because we are part of a system, an educational system, and we just can't be the same. We just can't be the same after the things that the steps that we've made, the things that we've seen over the past 3 weeks. We can't be the same. So as teachers, we have a great responsibility to show students what that change looks like. And definitely, as many people have said before, our white brothers and sisters, they're going to have to do a little bit more in terms of showing this change is genuine, showing that this change is going to have a lasting effect on society, on the experience of our minority students. That's your responsibility, and good luck with that. And I'll leave you with that. And this show is over. No, I'm just playing. I want to, because I can imagine that for a white person, a white teacher, I can understand how it could be potentially an overwhelming challenge to rise to the occasion and meet this responsibility, because this is definitely not something that is, as far as I know, there's not a class on how to deal with this, on how to rise to this occasion. And I think that, the slant that I've taken here in terms of teachers or leaders, I think that there is a lot that you can really learn from having that mindset. Like, you don't have to be a great, you don't have to be a wordsmith and give an MLK speech on the first day of school, and you don't have to do those things, but you do have to accept the fact that you have influence. You are a leader in that classroom, and sometimes, as well, no, a lot of times as a leader, you're in front. You're in front. You're by yourself. You got people behind you, and they're trying to decide if they are going to follow you. And that's why a lot of people decide that they don't want to get into formal leadership positions, because it can be just you out there, and you're doing it. You're showing the way for others to follow. You are the example that other people are looking at. You are that person. You're what other people are looking at, so that they can, in order for them to decide, what is this experience going to be like? And when we talk about, systemic racism, that judgment can be made based on an interaction that a student has with you in your class. And that interaction can be indirect. It could be a interaction that a student has with another student in your class. And if that goes bad, then that could fall on your shoulders, because as a leader, you are responsible for the culture in your classroom. So what I want to do for our white brothers and sisters is offer you a few things that you can do in order to really be a helpful part of this movement, to really help this change persist and be a permanent change, so that students have an even better experience in your classroom and even at your school. And the goal should be that students, they leave your classroom, they leave your school, that they graduate from your district, and they can look back on the experiences that they had, and they can look back with gladness, knowing that they were equipped with everything that they needed in order to chase their vision of success. No one treated them differently based on what they look like. They got the understanding that they needed in times of stress. And overall, everyone in that school, in that district, cared about the things that student was going through. That is the goal. So here are a few action steps that you can do in order to really make this change permanent. And number one, I would say, is to use your voice. Use your voice. And I said before, you don't have to be this wordsmith who could just put together these great speeches filled with these one-liners that tweet well or whatever. You don't have to do that. And you don't have to be, because I know that there's a lot of passion with this subject, but you don't have to be an advocate for this movement. That doesn't mean that you don't have to be combative. And I know that some of you, that you may shy away from that. You don't want to do that. And so I believe it's as simple as using your voice, and just possibly shining a light. Like if there is a decision that's being made by administration, or if there is a comment that you hear from one of your colleagues, it's all about shining a light on the thinking behind something that is said or a decision that is made. Because I've come across, and actually I'll tell you that I was working with a district, and I think that and these are really good people, really great people in this district, wonderful people. And the superintendent, the assistant superintendents, the board members, they're all white. They're all white. And I had to point out to them that, because their goal was to, get some more diversity in their classroom, get some more teachers of color in their classroom. And I pointed out to them, well, okay, you have this goal, but could it be, because they'd expressed that they've been having a hard time of doing it, and I expressed to them, could it be that you're having trouble because of the thinking behind the hiring decisions? Because if I look at your district, you've got a white superintendent, white members of the superintendent's cabinet, and for the most part in all of the schools, the leadership is white as well. So and I went through some of their history, their hiring history in terms of filling those leadership positions. It's just, you see there's a pattern here. There's a pattern. And perhaps I submitted to them, perhaps there is some, subconscious thinking that is going on that is preventing them from meeting that goal of getting more teachers of color in that classroom. Perhaps people are seeing perhaps people are receiving a message, potential candidates are receiving a message that this district really doesn't mean to send, that, well, maybe minority teachers aren't necessarily welcome in this district based on the makeup of the leadership of the district. And I tell you that to send the message that using your voice, it could just simply mean questioning things, bringing things to people's attention, as it relates to race, as it relates to diversity, as it relates to tolerance and acceptance, just questioning things. Like, once again, not necessarily combative, but just putting it out there that, is this right? Or, is this the right thinking process? And then also too, what you can do is you can lean on a neighbor and ask your neighbor about your thinking. You can use your voice to check your thinking and say, hey, help me out here, because I'm having this issue with this student, and I want to make sure that there's nothing going on in my head that is causing me to treat this student differently. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing by this student. So using your voice, it doesn't have to be combative. It can definitely be helpful because it can shine a light on some important things. Also, when we talk about using your voice, you can, and I think that this is very important. On day one, I told you don't have to do a whole MLK speech or anything like that, but that first day is going to be important because that's going to set the tone. That's going to set the standard. Are we going to do school as usual, or did what happened during those few weeks in the summer, did that change something? And students are going to want to see change. And I think it is important to put that out there, because on day one, you should be working to build the culture of your classroom. So on day one, you've got to do it your way. Once again, it's not a TED talk. It's nothing like that, but it's just you letting your students know, this is what I believe. These are the things I believe in terms of, diversity, in terms of racism, in terms of Black Lives Matter. You have to let it be known to your students that this is what I believe. I'm not. We're here. We don't tolerate treating people differently, discrimination, or anything like that. And just really putting it out there to show students that this change, what we felt, the things that were said, the things that were done during the summer, that wasn't just the vapor that's just here for a moment and gone. And lastly, when we talk about using your voice, it's important, and you are definitely going to be challenged in this area to do it with your colleagues, because even though even though there were some things that changed over the past few weeks, there's still more work to do. And I like this quote by Zig Ziglar. He said that you never know when a moment and a few sincere words can have an impact on life. Once again, you never know when a moment and a few sincere words can have an impact on life. So I say that to say that your words are important. Your words are important. And once again, it doesn't have to be combative. It could simply be a question that provokes reflection. And I think, and because that's my style, and I think that when you do it like that, you really cause people to just go, and think, and when you, and that's the money, and I love that. Being a teacher, I love it when I can get students to stop and think, and then change the way they think as a result. That is the money. That just, just thinking about that I'm excited as I reflect on